My name is Jane Christie. I live in Chapel Hall, just outside Airdrie. I am a mother of 3 boys, and my middle son has learning difficulty, but he also has a diagnosis of autism. He's had this diagnosis of autism only actually for maybe about 3 years now, so it's fairly new. It's a fairly new diagnosis. So the diagnostic process didn't come really late for us. We always knew that Ronan had autism, along with the fact he has a condition called periventricular leukomalacia, so it's a long one. But yeah, he has this condition, which is a type of brain injury that he had from before birth, and along with that there was a learning difficulty. But we also knew that Ronan related to the world a bit differently. But he didn't get his diagnosis until he would have been around about 15. So he spent quite a lot of time coping really well, but struggling in some areas, particularly socially, particularly with transitions. So as a family, we just adapted. But of course, not having any support in place meant that where Ronan was struggling would really escalate. So what we did was we had spoken to school for help, repeatedly over a few years, talking about the kind of challenges that Ronan was having, the fact that they were escalating. Ronan wouldn't go to see a doctor, and you know that was a bit of a barrier as well to Ronan getting the support he needed. But eventually school had suggested that the CAMS learning difficulty team would probably have good advice and be able to support. And from there they did, it was basically a questionnaire, and so it took several weeks, several visits, really in depth, a visit to observe Ronan in school, and from that Ronan was diagnosed with autism, which we knew, but to have that diagnosis actually in place was really helpful. Partly because school now could look at different strategies, and because we were now more we were now able to think in a more specific way about what we can do. And I think more importantly, it wasn't just about the strategies that we were sort of learning about, it was about how we could relate to him. CAMS really did help us see that with autism, there's a pattern of maybe behaviours or thoughts, and suddenly we could see it's not something we're getting wrong, that this is autism and this is how Ronan sees the world. Suddenly we were looking at sensory issues. Suddenly we're thinking about he needs to spend extra time in the bath to regulate his emotions. We're realising that when he's really frustrated and he bites himself, that Ronan's trying to calm himself down, and it was just really life-changing to be able to see inside Ronan's world. I thought we'd been pretty good about doing it up to that point, but to have a diagnosis was just so helpful. It just opened things up for us.